Welcome back to Frequelize This. I'm Dave. This is John and Rich joining me, and we're continuing through our exploration of the best albums, or at least in our opinion and the opinion of the Frequelize This group, from 1971. This time we're in the winners, taking a look at winners, and going through kind of those. These are albums that so far have not taken a hit, but you know, for some of them, their time's coming. So, Rich, why don't you start us off with, what is it? We're up to game 41 in this adventure.
Yes, it's Jethro, Tull, Aqualung versus the Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers. And this one, the winner, frankly, surprised me. I mean, both are iconic albums. I would think that I would actually think that the Jethro Tull Aqualung is slightly more iconic relative to the band than Sticky Fingers is, because the Rolling Stones will follow this up with Exile on Main Street, which is their definitive album. And a lot of people will tell you Aqualung is Tull's definitive album. So Aqualung beat the Stones here. Which, again, mildly surprising considering the makeup of the group. We are the three prog guys, as we've said in previous episodes. But enough voted for Aqualung, which was kind of a surprise.
It was kind of a surprise.
Thoughts, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise, but also just knowing the fellas in the group, right? You know that age-old question of, are you a Stones person or a Beatles person? On that question, I feel like the group is far more weighted towards being Beatles people as opposed to Stones people. So even though Sticky Fingers, Sticky Fingers for me, 10 tracks and 4 of them are absolute bangers. But I almost feel like Tull squeaked it out because of this classic rock strength, not prog, right?
Yeah.
I think it beat the Stones on the classic rock strength of Aqualung and Cross-Eyed Mary, probably.
And Locomotive Breath.
Oh, yes. Forgot that one.
Next, we've got, this is another little doozy here. So you got Led Zeppelin 4, and Cat Stevens' Teaser in the Firecat.
I just think it's cool that Teaser in the Firecat has already won twice.
Yeah.
Up against really strong albums from 1971 that are probably more famous. I mean, it's going to lose here to Led Zeppelin 4. It's just the way it goes, right? But I just want to say, good job, Cat Stevens. That was it's a really good album. It's almost like you don't even need to talk about Led Zeppelin 4 because everybody just knows that, right? But it is worth talking about Teaser in the Firecat, and I just want to encourage people to go listen to it.
Well, that's one of those things. Yeah. Cat Stevens, good on you. That was Zepp 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, going in there's like, Zepp 4 is like it's Zepp 4, and especially now that all three of us don't listen to terrestrial radio anymore, it's actually gotten better because we're not bombarded with the same 3 tracks every time we turn on the radio. So,
yep.
Good.
And just like that competition where the classic rock behemoth stomped all over the singer-songwriter, it happens again here in game 43, where the Who's Next just destroyed Carole King's Tapestry. And I guess I have to agree with that. The Who's Next is a worthy behemoth to do the stomping.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just like with the Cat Stevens record, I want to encourage people who maybe aren't as familiar with that Carole King record to go give it a chance. This past weekend, I just bought it on vinyl. And so my purpose for collecting vinyl is mainly for displaying on the wall. And in this competition, I have both the Who and Carole King displayed on the wall right now. These 2 albums.
And it's great because they're both great album covers in their own respective ways.
Yeah.
I mean, and they really fit the persona of the record and the music that's on them. You know, you have Carole King just kind of like hanging out, you know, by the window, you know, and then you have the Who doing something to a monolith. And that's kind of the attitude of that album. I mean, just yeah. And I mean, again, I think we talked about this before. Who's next is peak Keith Moon on the drums.
Yeah.
So
you've got a combination here where, you know, Carole King is going to, I'm just going to abuse this, weave a tapestry of beautiful music, and the Who are just going to blow your speakers off.
Yep.
You know, and I can see why one would make the case for Carole King and the beauty of what she does, but at the same time, when she ran into a wall of sound. Sorry. It was just a monolith. It was too much. It's just too much. And yeah, good albums, but yeah, definitely the Who comes out on top here, and it makes total sense. Moving on. Next, we've got a couple of good ones here. Granted, they wouldn't be on this list if they weren't, but I got Black Sabbath, Master of Reality, and T-Rex, Electric Warrior. Now, going into this, I think I've mentioned this before. T-Rex was one of those things in the background. Yeah, I've heard of them, but really good stuff. But I don't know. You're coming up against an album like Master of Reality.
Yeah. I think actually, I can't remember what I voted, but I want to say I actually went against my heavy metal sensibilities and voted for Electric Warrior, just because that album is just so. There's just a feel good raunchiness to that album. That's just, just almost indescribable. You have to hear it if you haven't heard it, and you'll get it. And it makes you sad when Mark Bolan was not around to do more of this stuff because he died in a car accident. But I mean, that's no knock against Sabbath. I mean, Sabbath, Master Reality and Paranoid, those are titans in heavy metal. Black Sabbath moved on. You can't be mad at that either because, come on.
Yeah. I just checked, Rich, and you voted for the Black Sabbath.
Oh, he did vote for the Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. Just go ahead and edit the last 2 minutes out.
It's the established behemoth beating the indie rocker, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, or two groups that really kind of are responsible for creating two distinct subgenres of music.
Yeah.
Sabbath with heavy metal and T-Rex with glam rock.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what happens here? We
What?
got these bands together, and they gave birth to Motley Crue.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
No, Nikki Sixx wouldn't even agree with that. There's a quote that Nikki put out once I heard is like, we wanted to have the attitude of the Ramones, the sound of Led Zeppelin, and the look of the New York Dolls. So there you go.
Yeah.
Either of them are metal. So moving on.
Yeah, wow.
The next one.
Yeah.
Because we're now going on to the losers bracket. Which, and we're going to hang out with our little loser friends here, but they're not losers in the sense that they're bad albums. They're just lost two albums we thought were better. So the first one in this matchup are Harry Nilsson Schmilsson versus Santana 3. And what do you think about this matchup, guys?
Well, can I jump in really quick and just clarify that the albums that just lost in the winners bracket that we were just in, they're actually going to be in a future round of the losers bracket. We're actually not going to talk about them right now. And so what we're talking about now are the 4 losers bracket matches that came out of our last episode. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there so people didn't get lost.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so the Nilsson, Schmilsson, and the Santana 3. Nilsson had just beat ZZ Top and Santana had just beat Caravan. But man, the 2 of these guys together, I'll have to look up how I voted. They're both good.
Yeah.
I guarantee I know where I voted because I've always been much more familiar with the Santana. Santana 3 has always been, for me, a great album. I probably would still vote the same way. But again, since we were going through this exercise and I'm listening through things that I hadn't been familiar with before, Nilsson Schmilsson's a solid, beautifully well-crafted record. I guess if Santana 3 has to lose somewhere in there, yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. Just, I think if memory serves me correct, and John, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe I voted for Nilsson on this one too. Just great songcraft. Just, that's all you got to say. It's just, that first song, Gotta Get Up, just is so peppy, and it gives you that great energy right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so good.
Nilsson won by 1 vote. And Dave, you and I both went with Santana, and we lost.
Yep. Hey,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with having your opinion, even when a majority says, "Yeah, no."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even when that opinion is Van der Graaf generator.
Yes, even when the opinion is Van der Graaf generator. Yes. Speaking of pulling for the prog band.
Yes.
The next round, we've got Elton John continuing on with Madman Across the Water, and yes, Fragile. Will Elton take out another prog album?
No, but this is a
No,
fun
not so
matchup.
much.
This is a fun matchup because Rick Wakeman is on both of the albums.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was a slam dunk. I mean, come on. We really don't need to really dive into why. If you just want to know why, just listen to the previous episodes, specifically the part where we complained about Elton John, Madman Across the Water winning their matchups. So,
but in the voting, it was not a slam dunk. It only won by 1 vote. The Yes album.
Because again, we need to recruit more prog people in for the group, but
there's no accounting taste. I see that as a Elton John fan. So,
yeah.
All
right. So next we had Pink Floyd Meddle up against Sly and the Family Stone. There's a riot going on. This one, from my perspective, hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be pulling for an album like Meddle, but it was not to be. Sly and the Family Stone pulled out the win. John, was this another close one?
And no, so this one was the entire group putting us 3 prog guys in our place. We were the only ones that voted for Pink Floyd Meddle.
See, I didn't know. I forgot that was it. It was not a direct setup, but that might as well have been. But yeah, no, I can see that.
That's fair, though, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to say that they did that. At least they didn't pick a bad album to do that on. There's Riot going on is freaking great. So there is that. Now we actually get our prog revenge in the next one because we have an epic prog battle. Break out your pugil sticks or whatever they use on American Gladiators, because we're gonna go see Genesis Nursery Cryme versus Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Tarkus, and go.
Well, let me
So
tell
this
you.
is Go ahead.
Let me tell you about the vote. This is pretty cool. So, because I wanted to look it up, because epic prog battle, right? We don't wait around for everyone to vote necessarily. We're not jerks about making everybody vote if they're already invested in the competition. So, I was expecting that maybe this had a really low number of votes because people aren't prog. No, everybody voted, and no one voted for Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Everybody picked Nursery Cryme, which I think is the right way to go.
I think so too. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, if you're going to get the epic prog on prog battle, which we've got here, I don't,
Wow.
and I think it was the kind of thing. I mean, I'm going to go Tarkus on many things, but in this instance, no. You put them up against a fantastic album like Nursery Cryme. It would have been a crime to go any other way.
First of all, I think I need to put the phrase "I'm going to go Tarkus" on into my daily lexicon. It's like, I'm going to go Tarkus on the bank because they messed up my savings account or something. That just works, right? I'm going to go Tarkus on my auto mechanic because he caused an oil leak. Yeah, so
go full Tarkus on you.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much else to be said except that, Nursery Cryme is a terrific album. I think you may be able to make a case. I wouldn't make that case, but some people would be able to, I would imagine, that this being the best Peter Gabriel-led Genesis album in their discography. It's just great. It definitely has one of the most epic songs they ever recorded with the musical box. And yeah, that's, and John, I mean, you're the one that pushes this album so much, and this is one of your favorite albums. So why do you weigh in here?
Absolutely. I mean, I have an appreciation for Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That Tarkus track is really good. But some people like to point things out, like this is the first album with Phil Collins on drums, that kind of thing. Is this also the first one with Steve Hackett on guitar?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, people can point that out and point to that as making the album more significant, but the album stands on the songwriting and the playing, and you don't need to talk about the superstars that are on there. I mean, if you're going to, you can also mention Peter Gabriel. But we've talked about the way that Steve Hackett made his declaration of how he plays guitar on the musical box, and how he plays guitar in different ways, and which is what I love about prog music, and it's what I love about Genesis, is that you get different moods. You get, pastoral, and you get raging anger, and you get pop. I mean, it's just Genesis has stuff for everybody. So I was glad to see that this moved on here. So just to recap, we're wrapping up this episode. We did 4 battles in the winners bracket at the start of this episode, with the winners that are moving on being Jethro Tull's Aqualung, Led Zeppelin 4, the Who's Next, and Black Sabbath's Master of Reality. And then we went down to the losers bracket, and we've got some winners that are moving on there, being Harry Nilsson's Schmilsson, Yes Fragile, Sly and the Family Stone, There's a Riot Going On, and Genesis Nursery Cryme. So in our next episode, those 4 that I just mentioned that won in the losers bracket are going to be going up against the 4 albums that just lost in the winners bracket. So thanks for being with us again, and stay tuned. We're getting close. It's getting exciting. Well, it's already been exciting. It's getting more exciting.
Right.